So, you're heavily favoured this weekend. You think this will end your embarrassing streak of draws?
Lloyd, I've never been embarrassed about having streaks in my draws. You know, it's all part of growing up. I got a question for you. Has a team a la us ever won the whole chimichanga?
Not for 40 years.
Oh! No, you don't come in through here. That's fine. Yeah, I got you. It's like Dukes of Hazzards. Y'all probably call it the Earls of Risk over here.
We got work to do.
I think it's time for these young fellas to meet that guy.
Oh no, Lasso.
Hey, you little turd birds! Start touching your toes! And touch each other's toes!
What? How long was I have?
Not as long as last time, but nobody was hurt.
Okay. People saying there's something wrong with us. Not the way I see it. I believe in communism. Rom communism, that is. If Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan can go through some heartfelt struggles and still end up happy, then so can we. This is our turn to make history, and I believe we're going to do just that.
To the family we're born with, and to families we make along the way. To Richmond!
All right, let's go kick their butts.
Butts on 3.
Works for me. 1, 2, 3. Butts!
Apple TV Plus hit series Ted Lasso is back in this year's Emmy race with 20 nominations, and returning to behind the screen for today's episode are its editors, AJ Catoline and Melissa McCoy. Melissa is nominated for the episode Rainbow, and AJ for No Weddings and a Funeral. They were both nominated for an Emmy in 2021 as well, with AJ collecting the award for the season 1 finale. Additionally, they were both nominated for American Cinema Editors Eddie Awards in 2021 and 22. In 2021, Melissa won the trophy for the Make Rebecca Great Again episode. Today, we'll talk about their work on Ted Lasso Season 2 and get a hint at what's to come in Season 3. I'm Carolyn Jardine. Welcome to the Hollywood Reporters Behind the Screen.
But heaven knows I tried.
So AJ and Melissa, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again, and congratulations to both of you on your Emmy nominations.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah.
So season 2 of Ted Lasso was so much fun to watch. How did it feel to get the band back together, so to speak?
It was amazing. It's been a ride. Like we left season 1 being like, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we'll see each other. Maybe we won't. But we enjoyed working on the show. And then when it hit, how it hit, and then coming back and just feeling like it's Ted Lasso again, but like bigger and better and just more and creatively it felt bigger, and it just felt like the band was back together and we were ready to roll, and we were so excited.
I know you worked closely with Jason, the both of you. What was it like this season? Was it kind of, picking up where you left off, or did you, has it evolved?
It's still evolving. We haven't totally worked with Jason that much. Yeah, we're staying in touch, but they're still shooting the season 3. But as far as working with Melissa and our team in post, just like we see the cast gel on the screen when we're editing them, we see them really reading each other's energy and pacing each other out, knowing how to do the pace of the dialogue and the reactions. It's almost like the same with our post crew. Picking up with Mel, we just kind of build where we left off, and with our amazing assistant editors and our sound team and our music editor, we all are really clicking. So it's great to get the band back together in post.
Yeah.
In season 2, so many of the characters go through big transformations. When you start editing this season, do you have the whole script for the season when you're beginning?
No.
No.
And that's always been the case. Yeah. We get little drips and dribbles. Jason, season 1 had told me what was going to happen with Nate season 2. And I almost couldn't believe it because I spent the whole season falling in love with Nate. And when he told me season 1, I said, no, and he just did a double eyebrow raise. And he just loves that. Like, he's like, yeah, we're going to push it, And I remember when everything was going down with Nate, we were still working on this. Oh God, or maybe it was this season, we're talking with Jason, and he was like, I checked in with Nick, and he was like, just to make sure he was okay, because so many people were like angry at him. But I think because he was so amazing, like, he was getting. Yeah, but like, that just goes to show you, he was so amazing to cut. His performance in the editing room was heartbreaking, and just one of the best things I've ever seen for me, of like just the little nuances that he was doing. I hope, he got the Emmy nomination. I'm so happy about that. But I was like, I hope people remember to love him, even though they hate him, because, he's making you feel that so strongly because he's doing such a good job.
I was really impressed when Jason Sudeikis said that season 2 was going to be the Empire Strikes Back of Ted Lasso. And, I know Jason's a big Star Wars fan, and I kind of knew immediately what that meant because of a little tidbit he gave me. When we're editing, he sometimes lets us in on how where the show's going and the story arc. And, he told me back in season 1 that, Ted's, we learn, that not only Ted's dad died when he was younger, he tells us in the dark scene in 1, but that Ted's dad committed suicide. And he let me in on that. I'm like, wow, how's that going to reveal? So as I saw the scripts coming forward with season 2, I could see little hints he was dropping about the importance of fathers and dads. And, and we talk about Sam's dad, and we have to see Jamie's dad. And then that crazy scene in episode 8 where Jamie gets in the fight with his dad. And then that really builds up to episode 10, which I'm honored to be nominated for, along with my additional editor, Alex Szabo. I saw that scene where he just breaks down to Dr. Sharon and admits how his dad died. And it's very dramatic. And we do that incredible intercut with Rebecca talking about what she went through with her father, who's died now in the episode. So it was just really great to see, how they drop these little things in. And then when, editing that intercut between Ted and Rebecca was just a beautiful moment.
Let's just get the audience up to speed. I'm sure many of you can already know we're talking about the episode titled "No Weddings and a Funeral," and it's the episode that surrounds the death of Rebecca's father. And Ted is going through his issues and seeks help from Dr. Sharon. And there's actually a lot of storylines going on that you had to balance. But since you brought up the parallel of Rebecca and Ted's journey at that point, would you like to talk about cutting that sequence?
Sure. That was, the script did call for an intercut, specifically on the year of the date that this both happened to Ted and Rebecca. It said that we would go from mentioning 1991 on Rebecca's side to 1991 on Ted's side. But that was really the only one, and the rest of the writers kind of wrote these amazing lines and blocks, and the script said, intercut as we go. So that became very interesting to working with the director, MJ Delaney, also nominated. We worked to try to have, Rebecca and Ted finish each other's sentences because they're just so kind of cosmically connected, those two, and they're kind of healing similar pain. So yeah, it came about matching coverage, being in a close on Ted and a close on Rebecca. So it was very kind of seamless. It just felt like one conversation, releasing all this trauma and angst. And though there was one really cool wide shot that we ended with, just as a punctuation at the end, seeing Rebecca and her mother there in the wide in the church. And then she builds the relationship with her mom. So yeah, it was just a really powerful sequence. And of course, her singing "Never Gonna Give You Up" in the church was so fun to check in with all those characters. Well, as you say, all the many storylines going on in that episode.
Right. Well, we also have the dynamic with Sam and Rebecca at that point. Tell us about weaving that one in.
Well, that was fun. It starts on that scene with them in bed together, which is the first, we left them kissing in episode 8 and the door slams. And that was a great cliffhanger. And then we had the amazing episode 9, Beard's Night Out, which Mel did, which is kind of like a total sidetrack. And the audience must have been like, but what about Sam and Rebecca? But then we pick it up in 10. Jason chose that song, "I'm Gonna Sex You Up," to put at this top and to give it some comedy. And then it just becomes about, Sam and Rebecca can't let on that they're having a relationship. So they're hiding in closets. And it was important when we edited to make sure there's a lot of looks from Sam and looks from Rebecca where he wants to embrace her on the day of her dad's death, but he can't. So it becomes about finding the right looks back and forth between them and building that in editing, which they gave it to us. The cast gave it to us. It's about making those choices.
And you also have that great scene in the church right before the memorial when Rebecca finally admits it to her friends.
Yeah, that's yes. The who you shagging scene with sassy character. And yeah, that's just so funny the way they were just going around. And it was actually hard to edit that because they were just screaming all over the place. And we had to figure out how to balance those takes and dissolve between them to get those screams sound a bit fluid.
With a scene like that, did they improv or do they do a lot of takes? Like, what do you have to work with?
No, that was all very well written. Not too much improv in there. They just kind of went over the top with their laughter, and we got it from the best coverage we can. Which, they were rushing. They were on a location that day, so we didn't have a ton of takes, but they really nailed it. And it's just about finding that's actually where the show does feel like improv, because just finding the best laughters and just the best faces that they're giving us, and that became like a little mini montage in itself. Hysterical. What's
your favorite scene in that episode?
Oh, definitely the church scene when Rebecca gets up to say, "I don't know what to say," and she's hanging there, and Jason wanted me to take my time and intercut a bunch of shots of the church, and then Ted walks in, and the whole church like turns around and looks at him. It really breaks the comedy with like some comic relief there. And finally, the panic attack scene in that episode. We didn't have anything to cut to. When we started the panic attacks in season 1, and then in episode 6, we had a bunch of stuff we could cut to make it visually frenetic, as well as the audio of Ted panicking. And this, he's just in the room by himself. It's a oneer. So I said to Jason, maybe we could try some sort of flashbacks, which we never had in Ted Lasso. Like, what is he thinking about as he's panicking? And so we showed a shot of the dartboard and him with Henry and the close-up of the army man. And when I showed Jason the possibility to do just like quick flash intercuts, which we don't do on the show, it felt like in that moment it changed the show editorially. And he was incredibly excited. He's like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah." And then it became very detailed with him about, do we, flash cut for 8 frames or 12 frames? He's very specific about the timing. It was fun to put together.
Now, Melissa, you are nominated for the episode titled Rainbow. And this is the one where we really see Roy's transformation, where he's trying to figure out what to do as a retired player. And he eventually realizes that he wants to coach. It was set up like a rom-com, but in that last sequence where he's doing the broadcast and he realizes he wants to coach, and he just runs out and runs to the stadium to join Ted and the others. Tell us about cutting that sequence. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, that was, when I read the script, I was like, this is my Nora Ephron movie that I've always wanted to cut. I'm such a big romantic comedy fan. Like, once a year I watch When Harry Met Sally, and I watch Sleepless in Seattle, and, all those types of movies. So actually, when I was cutting that last sequence, something I picked up that I really love that Martin Scorsese and Thelma do is they have movies on in the background. And so when he's running out at first, I was like, you know what? I need to have When Harry Met Sally on in the background. And I just went to that scene where he starts running for her. And I just was like, I just want to turn around and look at it every once in a while and just, have osmosis come over me, because that's something Jason and I really bonded about when working on the episode. He's like, I just love that this is a romantic comedy, but there's not a male-female love, it's like Roy's love of the game. And that's something I talked about with the director as well, because she's like, she was like, I don't feel like I'm a sports director. And I was like, but this is such a sport, like it's what transcends sports, is like love of the game. And it's like, love is such a universal thing. So I was just like, you made a great sports movie, but it's really a love letter. So anyways, I had that on in the background when I was cutting it. And it was just all about, getting Roy there in the most satisfying way. And that's starting out that scene. Once he sees what he's done for Isaac on the scene, when they're like, let's look at your old team warming up, and Isaac's, we go down on the field and Isaac's just joyful, and we come back and it's just all on Roy. And I was like, you know what? He's just so good in that performance. So I just never wanted to leave. And everybody's kind of talking to him. And I'm like, but in his head, he's not in this room. So I don't want to see anybody else in the room. I don't want to see Jeff Stelling or, any of the commentators, because it's all about Roy. Roy's left. And so we're going to stay with him to the very end. And I just loved all the little bits that they did with his knee going out. But yeah, had to try to find creative ways to make the music stop, because that Rolling Stones song Rainbow is 3 minutes long, I think 3 or 4 minutes long, but the whole sequence is 6 minutes. So basically I knew where I wanted it to start. And then when he has his little conversations, like the taxi cab driver, or, when he's in the pedicab, and when he's talking to the guy at the security guards, all those things, I didn't want the lyrics in there. So there's no instrumental, because a lot of times with those older songs, there's no instrumental music. So our brilliant music editor, Richard Brown, like I would just kind of do a messy edit where I tried to just pull out the piano and the instrumental parts under those dialogues. And he somehow weaved it together and then made the lyrics land where they needed to land. Like when we see Higgins' wife come out, it says, you see her all in blue and she's wearing blue. And then we go to the field and Keely's all in gold. And he recognized that one. He's like, I had the lyric, now you see her all in gold, land on Keely. And I was like, I didn't even put that one together because I was so focused on the blue with Higgins' wife. So that was the impetus for the whole song. So yeah, that was a wild ride. And then every time you make a change, it's like, can you please still have the song hit here, 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 and here? And I just loved, it was a happy coincidence when I laid that song in that the music got all weird when it landed on Nate, and that was just, I was like, oh, that hit pretty great. I don't think that was in scripted at all. It was just one of those happy accidents where it happened. And then every time I made a change, I was like, but that still has to fall on Nate, because we knew kind of where Nate was headed. And this was the beginning of that. Like this was that first, slight that he felt. I mean, maybe not first, but a big one. I think that
you're kind of dropping those throughout, right?
Yeah. And so that was like a big one where when the music starts to go a little bit weird and there's those strings that come in and it hits right on Nate looking at Ted, like, you're going to let him come back. And what is that going to do for me? So a lot going on in there, but such a fun thing to cut.
And then you also threw in all these fun obstacles, like when he finally gets to the stadium and the security won't let him in without a ticket, things like that. How scripted was that whole sequence? Or did you have more that you didn't use?
Yeah, I mean, that was scripted, but yeah, I did. That was a case where I did have a lot of extras that were unexpected, that weren't scripted. Like we set up in episode 201 that he always keeps a ticket for Roy under like a different country artist. And he was like Shania Twain, and he named some. And so then when he arrives at the ticket booth, he's like, I believe you're holding a ticket for Reba McEntire. But he went through a whole slew of those, like Dixie Chicks, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, just Reba McEntire to me was hilarious. And maybe it was the way he said it. Anyways, yeah, we rolled through all of them and was like, that's the winner. And then I saw Reba McEntire like tweet it out afterwards about wanting to have a ticket to the AFC Richmond game. So I had like lots of alts there, and there was a little boy there where he looks up and is like, Dad, it's Roy Kent. Like that was all extra. So yeah, it was a lot of like fitting in a lot of the littles that they did, and the knee popping that he did. Like I think that was extra that they did on the day. And then that was another place where I was like, oh, I can break the music. So when he's running and his knee pops, the music stops and I can kind of reset the song again. So it was about finding little places like that so I could keep the song fresh and not redundant or, played out. It was like the unexpected is going to happen along with this song. So like, don't feel complacent because you don't know what's going to come with it, is what I loved about it.
Now, I have to ask, before that scene, I also loved every sequence of Roy as a commentator.
Yeah.
Did you use all of them? Were there others that never made the final cuts?
Yeah, we used all of it. I'm pretty sure. No, nothing got cut because I mean, Roy is gold, I feel like. And especially when you get grumpy Roy like that, for sure. Yeah. That was all stayed, all scripted. Yeah.
Brett is great with improvs in general. He'll give you little alt lines and stuff. Which, he's not sure some things get left that are good and we don't have time for.
And I asked AJ this question, so let me ask you the same question. What was your favorite scene in your episode?
It's hard. I mean, that end sequence definitely is one of my, top things I've ever got to do on Ted Lasso. But you know what was really satisfying for me was Nate in the mirror, where it's like the first time he spits at the mirror and he's having that issue with the table, and we set it up in the beginning, and there was just just like so much of that, awkwardness for him. And then when he finally feels his power and talking about it with Jason after, he said, like, this is kind of the best Nate, like this is the best Nate is in this moment, right? He's assertive, he's not mean, but like, he's owning his power in a good way, where he's like, I want to, I've asked for the window seat. I would like the window seat. It is open, sort of thing. And from there on, he kind of, it morphs into something darker. So yeah, just you going in there and having that moment with him. I really loved his performance in there, and then following him out and the music we chose, where you do feel like, this is a powerful moment for him, knowing where he went. Like that was a great pinnacle for him. So I really enjoyed that scene of crafting that performance.
Throughout the season, the two of you do such a great job of just, building those arcs for all the characters. How do you two work together? Do you discuss each episode and what you're putting where? And
oh yes, I love to give all my episodes to Mel and say what am I not seeing? What am I missing? Mm-hmm. And Mel's great with that. And yeah, we try to watch each other's things and give each other ideas and notes. But I think what helps is that we don't have such a rushed schedule. Although we did kind of last year, it was told that we had to air around the time of the Olympics in the middle of the summer. So we were really rushing through the episodes. And at some point we ran out of, runway and had to deliver. But season 1, we had all our episodes kind of open, and as of now we do on season 3. So we're absolutely talking about, like, do you have this moment in yours? And I cut something like this way, take a look, because I was building this reaction. So maybe you can call it back in your episode. There's a lot of that collaboration. Of course, in music, just the other day, Mel's like, I was going to use that song, but you're right. I know it's better for you. So you have it.
Yeah, we do that a lot. Shots too, we would do, because, if they would shoot players coming into AFC Richmond. I remember that last year. That's something that happened.
Yeah, we had a bit of a tussle over this one shot we both wanted, and it worked better for Mel.
Yeah, it was like
do you want to elaborate?
Arriving. Well, it's so small, but it's like fans arriving at the game, and we both had home games, and it was because of the block shoot, so it was the same block. So there was a little bit of overlap of just like general fans coming, and then for me it was like the montage just set up like couples, and I had it set to L is for the way you look tonight, like my romantic comedy music. And it was a couple coming in, an older couple, and sitting down. And it was amongst, they actually went back and shot more of those. So you have different types of couples, but like that was the only one I had at the time. And then you had it too, but
yeah,
I was like, you had it in first, and then I was like, but it works so much better. So
yeah, it wasn't as intentional. Like you just described why it's more intentional, and yours for mine episode is more random. But that, I think, is the key to our collaboration, and it's great. We try to talk about things to be like, well, defend this moment, editorially. Why are we going wide, or why are we close? And Mel says a great thing that sticks in my mind. It's like, as long as we discuss it between us, then when Jason comes and works with us and has those questions, we can be, well, we thought of this. If something's controversial, or we're doing something that might be a little, daring, we as long as we discuss it and can come up with, well, you could do it this option or that option, but we've talked about it. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, because that's something
editorial teams.
Yes, Jason will want to know why, and and the why and the how, which is great. I mean, you really should. I mean, it's really defend your art, go for it, you know? And he's so open to that. It's never a wrong answer. And it's just like the best art teacher you've ever had where it's like, you know, he might not agree with you, but if you've, you know, given your point, he's like, fair enough, X, Y, and Z. And it's a wonderful debate. So AJ and I have really coalesced around that, where sometimes we get notes from, you know, studio, network, this or that. And it's like, okay, let's come together, let's talk about it and have a reason why we're doing this and reason why we're doing that. And as long as we've had those discussions, we feel confident in that we know we can answer any question you throw at us because we know these characters inside and out. And that's the beauty of being on a multi-season show and being led by Jason, who's doing so much intentional work on the set, and the actors are doing so much intentional work on the set. We feel we must also be doing our intentional work behind the scenes.
Yeah. And he'll let us know. We've gotten a few texts at 3 a.m. from him. Fortunately, our notifications are off. That's because he's just on London time. But he's like, oh, we shot this today. Make sure you keep an eye out for this or pull these moments. And that's really wonderful when you get that type of feedback as an editor, you know, right from the creator, right from the set.
Well, you left a lot of cliffhangers in the final episode of season 2, but we've talked a bit about Nate. But would the two of you like to just elaborate a little bit on, you know, bringing Nate to that point throughout the season?
I mean, I could not cut away from his performance in episode 12 when he's just telling Ted how he feels abandoned. And it's just so not true. He's like, you don't even have a picture that I gave you, but we saw it earlier. It's in his apartment. And it's just, you just feel so, you know, angry at Nate, but he's just so just crushed and, you know, living, you know, in his sort of traumatic, you know, mindset. And I just couldn't cut away from that performance. And I said this to Jason. I said, you know, I'm holding on this shot. It seems like 20 seconds, you know, and that's odd in television. You always cut to the reaction. Otherwise you feel like you're not doing your job as an editor. And I'm like, I tried some options to show you. He's like, don't even show me. Just stay with Nick. Oh, it's a beautiful performance, and he's so deserves that Emmy nomination.
It's a great performance, and even the build-up works so well. To what extent did you experiment in the earlier episodes? Did you have scenes where he was more angry that you took out, or did you put things back? Or tell me a little bit about that process.
It was weird. We noticed his hair was getting more and more gray. We didn't. That was a surprise to us.
Yeah, that was something we actually did have to monitor, because if they, like, one time they shot something for 11, but they were running out of time, and he had his hair from 12. Like, they really planned how much. So I think we had to digitally take out some of the grays in 11. But, you know, performance wise, Nate is so like small and sometimes it's just a look, you know? And so it was really about finding all of those. And so in the earlier episodes, it's just a flash, you know. I'm trying to think of the first big, I feel like, overt look is 5, where you're like, uh-oh, you know, where's this headed? And then and
to that point in 6, same thing. There was that look when Roy just said, we're going to give Jamie the signal, and he flips him off, and that James scores the most amazing goal. And Nate, everyone's cheering, but Nate's a little jealous that he didn't think of that play. And when I saw that moment, I didn't know what to make of it, and I just kind of let it kind of go by. But the director's like, no, it says it in the script, you know, make a bigger moment of this. It was like, okay. And then when I saw Nate's trajectory, I went back and recut it even to a bigger moment to show his jealousy while the team is winning, which is what we see him at the end. Like, everyone's cheering and he's just standing there, you know, moping on the sideline. So there's those looks throughout that we try to go back, and that's the advantage of going back and fixing things.
Well, with those cliffhangers, we're all looking forward to season 3. Which character or characters go through some of the biggest transformations in season 3? What can you share?
I'm going to vote for Hannah, and maybe not. I think it's her. I think she has the biggest arc from season 1 to season 3, and
Rebecca's arc from season 1 to season
3. Rebecca. Yes, thank you. I don't know why I just like calling her Hannah. She just feels like, you know what I mean? Your best friend.
She's
always.
Family.
Well, we got to meet her, so she's Hannah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I'm going to vote Rebecca, but maybe that's a controversial choice. But like, I think Rebecca.
I probably would vote for Nate. I think he's going to have, yeah. And I mean, I was just thinking about in season 3 what his transformation is, but Mel's, that's an interesting point. From season 1, he was the kit man, and then he becomes coach, and now he's the coach of, we see him the coach of West Ham at the end of 12. And so he's like just on a trajectory of a career wise. And, and I think it'll pay off for him personally as well. But, it's hard because Jason is so very generous as a producer and a creator. Like, he gives all these other characters a storyline. And I think that's why our episodes are so full and long for a half an hour comedy to have 45-minute episodes, because there's just so many storylines, and he wants every character to have an arc. And, that's just amazing to have all those choices.
And I assume we'll be seeing some new characters in this season. Can you tell us about anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're new. So how can we tell you?
I know.
They come from the worlds of our characters. Yeah.
Yes. And so we have new people, new blood on the team. And that, I think, invigorates what's happening in the locker room. And then we know Keely, right, is going off for her career. And so there's new people in the fold there. And and
Trent Trim is independent. Where's Trent Trim going to go?
Yeah.
Surely he has a purpose at Richmond.
Yes. So, I think everybody is back and then new ways, but that feels very authentic to Ted, and things we've set up in season 1. We definitely bring back in season 3, even if it's something small, like that's what I love, is like a small thing that you were like, oh, and then it becomes a thing in season 3. I don't know. It's just, I love the way Jason's mind works in that way. He gives you things that feel so homey, right? Like you're in the inside club, that we drop this little nugget, this little joke, and here you go. Season 3. I don't know. He's just brilliant in that, and like giving you things that make you feel like you're part of the Ted Lasso club. You can have the believe sign on your wall. Like I'm just amazed that he created this world that's so fun to be in, that gives you things that are surprising, but aren't surprising, because he's set them up in some way that, you feel like, oh, that maybe is just an offhand thing. I don't know. Does that make sense?
He loves callbacks. Being a comedian, he really loves starting a joke and keeping it running. And just when you think it's over, no, one more time.
Well, we need to wrap, but congratulations to you both on the Emmy nominations and on the show. And please come back again after season 3. And we'll chat some more.
Let's do this again.
Great to have you back.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Heaven knows I've tried.